This is the story of how a man who earned somewhere between $300 and $400 million wound up filing for bankruptcy. His name is Mike Tyson, and before we go one step further, we need to clear something up, because the numbers in this story tend to blur together every time it gets told. There was never a single $300 million settlement. That $300 million figure represents Tyson's estimated peak net worth, according to Celebrity Net Worth, and it was never a check anyone handed him. Across his career, he pulled in an estimated $300 to $400 million, with some outlets citing gross figures far higher than that. When he filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2003, the New York Times reported his debts at more than $27 million. And when he took his former promoter Don King to court, he demanded $100 million and walked away with a reported $14 million, not a dollar of which stayed in his own pocket. 3 different numbers, 3 different chapters of the same life. Today, we untangle all of them and trace exactly how one of the richest athletes of his era ended up with nothing. The rise. Michael Gerard Tyson came into the world on June 30th, 1966, in Brooklyn, New York. Bedford-Stuyvesant raised him first, then Brownsville, neighborhoods that handed a young boy a hard and unforgiving start. One tender obsession followed him through all of it, and that obsession was pigeons. By his own account, the very first real fight of his life broke out after a bully killed one of his birds. His road into boxing ran straight through trouble. A counselor and former boxer named Bobby Stewart spotted him at the Tryon School for Boys, a juvenile facility, and around 1980, Stewart introduced the teenager to a trainer named Cus D'Amato. D'Amato gave him far more than training, becoming Tyson's legal guardian and the closest thing to a father a boy who badly needed one had ever known. Under that watchful eye, Tyson turned professional on March 6, 1985, in Albany, New York, at just 18 years old, and he won that debut by first-round technical knockout over a fighter named Hector Mercedes. Here's a detail worth sitting with. According to his own autobiography, once the deductions came out, the future champion pocketed roughly $100 from that first night. He fought about 15 times that opening year and won every single bout. The year delivered a brutal blow as well, because on November 4th, Cus D'Amato died of pneumonia at 77, and the anchor of Tyson's entire world was suddenly gone while he was still a teenager. What came next turned him into a household name. On November 22, 1986, Tyson stopped Trevor Berbick by second-round technical knockout to claim the WBC heavyweight title. And at 20 years and 4 months old, he became the youngest heavyweight champion in history. That record still stands today. The young champion wasn't finished collecting belts. March of 1987 brought the WBA title when he beat James Bone Crusher Smith, and August added the IBF crown against Tony Tucker, which crowned him the undisputed champion and the first heavyweight ever to hold all 3 major belts at once. From 1987 to 1990, he owned the division outright. The money chased the belts just as fast. In 1987, he signed an 8-fight deal with HBO reported at $27 million, followed by a long-term Showtime arrangement reported at $120 million. His fame even crossed into living rooms through a Nintendo video game, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out!, which reportedly paid him $50,000 just for lending his name. The peak and the first cracks. The sharpest snapshot of Tyson at his summit arrived on June 27, 1988. $20 million, a record purse at the time, and worth roughly $53 million in today's money, is what he earned to fight Michael Spinks. The fight itself lasted 91 seconds. That night was the peak, and the cracks were already spreading underneath it. Months earlier, in February of 1988, Tyson had married the actress Robin Givens, and the marriage proved brief and turbulent, finalized in divorce by February of 1989. Around that same stretch, his trainer Kevin Rooney, the man who had carried him through his prime after D'Amato died, was let go around 1988. Then came the collapse nobody saw coming. On February 11, 1990, inside the Tokyo Dome, Tyson surrendered his title to Buster Douglas by 10th round knockout, and Douglas had walked in as a 42-1 underdog. People still call it the biggest upset in the history of boxing. That professional shock was soon dwarfed by something far darker. On July 19, 1991, in Indianapolis, Tyson raped a woman named Desiree Washington, a former Miss Black Rhode Island. A jury convicted him on February 10, 1992. A judge sentenced him on March 26 to 6 years, and he started his term that April before his release in March of 1995, after roughly 3 years behind bars. That conviction is part of who Tyson is, and any honest account of his life has to state it plainly. It also draws the dividing line through his finances, because his own bankruptcy affidavit would later trace the start of his money troubles to this very era and the years that followed. The comeback and the spending. When Tyson stepped out of prison in 1995, he remained a massive draw, and the paydays only swelled larger. On November 9, 1996, he met Evander Holyfield for a reported $30 million and lost his WBA title by 11th round stoppage. The rematch, staged on June 28, 1997, became one of the most infamous nights in all of sports. The night Tyson bit Holyfield's ear, drew a third-round disqualification, lost his license, and absorbed a $3 million fine. Holyfield would later shrug the whole thing off, saying that whenever he catches his ears in the mirror, it doesn't trouble him, because he just remembers earning $35 million in 9 minutes. Then came the Lennox Lewis fight on June 8, 2002 in Memphis, where Tyson went down by 8th round knockout. The money here gets reported 2 very different ways, and precision matters. Each man held a guaranteed $17.5 million, yet with pay-per-view bonuses stacked on top, Tyson's total climbed far higher, by some accounts toward $100 million. The event itself grossed nearly $107 million and became the highest-grossing pay-per-view in history up to that point. The income, in other words, was staggering. The obvious question is where it all went. The bankruptcy documents, later detailed by the Washington Post and NBC News, sketch a picture that's hard to forget. Cars and motorcycles swallowed about $4.5 million, and at his peak, Tyson kept roughly 110 vehicles in his collection, Bentleys and Rolls-Royces and Ferraris among them. Another $3.4 million vanished into clothes and jewelry, and a further $7.8 million disappeared under a category labeled simply as personal expenses. The smaller line items are the ones that linger. $140,000 went toward 2 white Bengal tigers, plus a standing bill of $125,000 a year for the man who trained them. A single birthday party ran $410,000. Cell phones and pages are $230,000 across one 2-year stretch. A gold and diamond chain worth $173,000 still carried a balance he owed, bought on open credit from a Las Vegas jeweler, and as late as 2002, he piled up $65,000 in limousine bills alongside $8,100 for Tiger Care alone. The jewelry alone could fill its own ledger. A diamond watch set in 18-karat gold ran $245,000, and legal fees between 1995 and 1997 consumed roughly $9 million more. The Las Vegas jeweler who sold him that unpaid chain, Mordecai Yerushalmi, captured the whole dynamic in a single line, telling reporters, "Knowing him for so long, I gave him the merchandise and knew he'd pay later. He had open credit with me." A note of caution belongs right here, because this story attracts wild exaggeration. Certain figures get repeated everywhere. The claim of roughly $400,000 a year on pigeons and exotic cats, or a staffer supposedly paid $300,000 a year just to shout at press conferences, and none of those are court-verified line items. They trace back to bankruptcy-era reporting and tabloid retellings. The numbers sitting inside the actual filings are dramatic enough on their own. Chapter 11. On Friday, August 1st, 2003, Mike Tyson filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in the United States Bankruptcy Court for the Southern District of New York in Manhattan, alongside his holding company, Mike Tyson Enterprises. Judge Alan Gropper took the case. More than $27 million is how the New York Times reported his debts at the time. You'll often hear a rounded figure of $23 million tossed around, and by the middle of 2004, as additional claims got tallied during reorganization, the Washington Post placed the total near $38 million. So when you encounter different debt numbers attached to Tyson, they rarely contradict each other because each one is simply a snapshot from a different date. The Times laid out exactly who he owed. $13.4 million was owed to the Internal Revenue Service, $4 million to British tax authorities, and roughly $600,000 split across 7 law firms. His former trainer, Stacey McKinley, was owed $800,000, while a financial manager named Barry Hankerson was owed $500,000. In his own affidavit, Tyson spelled it out in his own words. He wrote, quote, "I have been in financial distress since 1998. When I was burdened with substantial debt to Showtime, taxing authorities, and parties to litigation. Since that time, although my fight income, various asset sales, and litigation recoveries have enabled me to pay a lot of my debt, I am still unable to pay my bills." The Times was blunt about where any genuine rescue would have to originate. Salvation, the paper argued, wouldn't arrive through another bout with Lewis or Holyfield or Roy Jones Jr. The only real lifeline rested inside his $100 million lawsuit against his former promoter, Don King. Don King and the settlement that wasn't what it sounded like. Don King promoted Tyson, and the partnership ended in a courtroom. Back in 1998, Tyson sued King and Don King Productions for $100 million, alleging fraud and the concealment of broadcast revenue earned outside the United States. The case dragged on for years before settling out of court, announced in 2004 for a reported $14 million. Here's the part that matters most. According to ESPN, every dollar of that $14 million flowed straight toward the roughly $38 million Tyson owed to creditors, the IRS, and his ex-wife, which meant Tyson personally collected none of it. King's legal team brushed it aside as, quote, "a confidential settlement agreement for an insignificant sum of money." So who actually drained Tyson's fortune? King or Tyson himself? The honest answer is that both stories hold up under the documents. The lawsuit alleged King's cut of Tyson's earnings ran large and legally questionable, and King had already settled with other fighters before. Yet Tyson's own bankruptcy filings revealed tens of millions poured into luxuries. That $14 million settlement landed a long way beneath the $100 million he'd claimed, and it dissolved into his debts the instant it arrived. Tyson's feelings about King carried a sharp edge. He once charged that King did more bad to black fighters than any white promoter ever in the history of boxing. In later, calmer years, he softened the framing, reflecting that King pretty much educated me, before adding, "That will never happen again." The reorganization plan, drawn up in 2004, called for Tyson to fight roughly 7 more times across 3 years and keep about $2 million per fight. His personal life carried its own price tag. His second wife, Monica Turner, divorced him in 2003, walking away with roughly $9 million plus the Connecticut mansion, a sprawling estate in Farmington he'd bought back in 1996 for about $2.8 million. Her divorce lawyer, Sanford Ain, summed up the whole pattern by saying Tyson spent enormous amounts of money that were inappropriate at best, and that mansion later changed hands again, sold to the rapper 50 Cent for around $4.1 million. His final professional bout arrived in 2005, a loss to Kevin McBride after he quit on the stool, and then he walked away for good. The ledger he left behind read 50 wins, 6 losses, and 2 no contests across 58 fights, with 44 of those victories ending by knockout. In 2011, the sport made his place permanent, inducting him into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. By 2010, sitting on television, Tyson described where he'd landed with startling honesty. He called himself totally destitute and broke, yet insisted he still had an awesome life. He admitted he'd had a lot of fun, that it just happened, and that he didn't deserve the wife and children he had, though he did have them, and he was grateful for every bit of it. The second act. The story refuses to end in a bankruptcy court, and that's exactly what makes Tyson's case so unusual. He discovered ways to convert even his ugliest moments into income. Years later, speaking on a podcast, he tallied up the ear bite himself. "I got fined $3 million for that, but I might have made $30 million since that happened from that bite alone." He wasn't reaching for a punchline because he genuinely built it into a product. The comeback wore many uniforms beyond boxing. In November of 2020, he laced up for an exhibition against Roy Jones Jr. that reportedly paid him around $10 million, and away from the ring he hosts the podcast Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson, runs a YouTube channel with roughly 3.9 million subscribers, and has cashed Hollywood checks too, earning a reported $100,000 for The Hangover and $200,000 for its sequel. In October of 2021, Tyson launched a cannabis brand called Tyson 2.0, headquartered in Los Angeles, and its flagship product is a gummy shaped like a bitten ear named Mike Bites, a knowing wink straight back at the Holyfield fight. By 2024, according to CEO Today magazine, Tyson 2.0 reported annual revenue topping $50 million, with projections reaching $75 million by 2025. The venture pulled in a $9 million Series A round led by JW Asset Management, partnered with Verano Holdings, and absorbed a majority stake in the Ric Flair Drip brand, while his separate cultivation operation, Tyson Ranch, reportedly generates around $500,000 every month by his own estimate. That November, he climbed back through the ropes to face the YouTuber-turned-boxer Jake Paul. The bout unfolded on November 15th, 2024, at AT&T Stadium in Texas and streamed worldwide on Netflix, with Paul taking the unanimous decision on scores of 79-73, 79-73, and 80-72. Around $20 million is what Tyson reportedly earned, though leaked regulatory filings showed a guaranteed floor of just $2 million each. The rest tethered to back-end and streaming money, and the night drew roughly $18 million at the live gate. Tyson kept his own expectations level beforehand, telling people, "This fight is not going to change my life financially." Netflix later reported the event drew 108 million live global viewers and peaked at 65 million concurrent streams, calling it the most streamed global sporting event ever. As for what he's worth today, the honest answer is that the estimates scatter widely, landing somewhere between $10 and $30 million, depending on who you ask. These come from celebrity finance trackers and sit unaudited, so treat them as estimates rather than hard facts. The direction of travel, though, is unmistakable, because a man who lost a fortune clawed a real piece of it back. Let's circle back to where we opened, and to those tangled numbers. A single $300 million settlement never existed. $300 million is what Tyson was once worth at his peak. $300 to $400 million is what he earned across an entire career. More than $27 million, swelling toward $38, is what he owed the day he filed for Chapter 11 in 2003. And the $14 million from Don King is the settlement that sounded like rescue, yet evaporated into his debts before he could touch a cent. Stacked together, they form one of the most complete rise and fall and rise arcs sports has ever produced. Before he turned 21, Tyson became the youngest heavyweight champion in history. He earned a fortune almost too large to count accurately, then scattered it across Tigers and Bentleys and birthday parties and lawyers before walking into a Manhattan bankruptcy court in 2003, owing money to everyone from the IRS to his own former trainer. Yet by his own telling, he'd had a lot of fun, and he stayed grateful for whatever remained. Whatever you ultimately make of Mike Tyson, and there's a great deal to weigh, including a rape conviction nothing can set aside. His finances endure as a genuine lesson in how fast a fortune can be earned, and how much faster it can disappear. If this case opened your eyes to something you didn't know, share it with one person who still thinks they remember how the Mike Tyson ended, because chances are they don't know the half of it. Subscribe if you haven't already, hit the bell so you don't miss next week's case, and I'll see you in the next one.